Do you want to take your game from looking like this to looking like that? Let me show you how. Hello and welcome back to my channel. I am the Scottish Gamer and my goal is to help you improve your game when it comes to Call of Duty and Warzone. Now in today's video we're going to go through a quick tutorial in regards to your graphics settings on Warzone 2.0. If you're anything like me, you were dead excited about the brand new Warzone, but when you first dropped in you realised actually the settings are different. Things are completely different from what it was before, and that's due to the fact that we've now got a new engine, it's a new game entirely, there's a new map, and all of the settings are completely different. So we're going to slowly go through our graphics settings, and in future videos we're going to take a look at our controller settings, our audio settings, to make sure that you're fully set up and ready to win in Warzone 2.0. So if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and let's get you set up for success. Now, in today's video, we're going to take a look at our graphics. So we're going to start off by going to our graphics setting tab. Now, one of the new introductions to the new setting icon is the fact that you can now search inside the settings. So if you can't find anything that I'm talking about in today's tutorial, simply search for the setting and you'll be able to follow this along. Now I'm going to go at a pace that should allow you to just do these settings as and when you're doing it live. So feel free to pause this video, jump on your console, and let's do it together. So first thing, go to your graphics tab, and then you're going to want to go straight away to the top of the screen and turn off your on-demand texture streaming. Now, this sounds a little bit counterintuitive. If you're trying to maximise your graphics to make your game look crystal clear, then you're going to want to make sure that you've got this off. And the reason behind this being is, although that it makes the game visually look a little bit better, it does cause issues with ping, latency and lag. So the best thing to do is just turn that off, and that way you get a smoother, better all-round experience. Then when you look at blurs, weapon blur and world motion blur, turn them all off. You want to make sure that everything's sharp in the background so that when you're in a gunfight or when you're moving around the map, things aren't blurry off in the distance. You're going to want to take that film grain and turn it all the way to 0. It's just going to improve the pixelization on the screen and make the game graphically look better. When it comes to depth of field, whack it off. Now, when it comes to the CAS settings, you want to turn them on and you want to turn them all the way up to maximum. That's just going to make things like the leaves on the trees, the bricks in the walls, just look that little bit sharper, and again, just improve our all-round graphics. Now, if you've got a 120Hz monitor or better, you want to make sure you turn on the refresh rate setting that's going to allow for more frames in every second of gameplay. Now, finally for us console users, we've got an FOV slider inside Warzone. So the first initial instinct is going to be whack it up to 120, I'll see everything. Now, it's not that good. What you want to do is set it at around about 110. Now I've set mine at 108. That just gives me the best of both worlds, where I can see out the corners of my eye and see what's going on, but at the same time give me that little bit closer to the screen feeling, meaning that I'm not missing targets and my visibility is just that little bit better for long range gunfights. So my recommendation is somewhere around that 110, but feel free to play around a little bit with this. Now, when it comes to things like your camera movement and your third person field of view, it's entirely up to yourself. My settings are on screen now, feel free to utilise them. Now, when it comes to brightness, the most important thing is to follow exactly what it says. When you're doing the brightness setting, that middle box should just be visible, and that's going to depend on the brightness you've got your monitor set at, as well as the brightness you have your game. But by putting that too high, the image on the screen gets oversaturated, and by having it too low, the image is going to look dark. So make sure that you really do this one properly. And when it comes to safe area, simply move it to the standard that you want. Now, we're going to get into the most important setting here. Now, it's actually listed as interface. So in the interface section, you have something called color customization. Now you've probably noticed that beforehand we used to have these settings and we used to have that Trinopia and everyone was talking about these. That's actually inside colour customization, but it also allows us to change some other elements that just make things more visible and easier for you to play inside Warzone. So when it comes to colour filter, I've done a little bit of experimenting around this, and for me colour filter number 2 seems to work best. Just gives the best overall visual experience. You're going to want to turn that filter target to both, so that way you can see it in game and in your menu screen. I'm going to turn that intensity all the way up to 100 for both world and interface. Now, when it comes to the HUD colour palette, put it to default. This sounds counterintuitive, but put it to default. For some reason, once you use the colour filter settings, it starts to deteriorate from the visual impact of the game. But this is where things can get really interesting. So if you go down a little bit further, you can now customise the colours that you use for you, your teammate, your party, for enemies and for neutral objectives. Now, there's default colours, but you don't want to use them. What you want to do is go into the colour, find it on the hue chart, then turn your saturation all the way up to full and your brightness all the way up to full, and then click the apply custom colour button. What that ultimately does is brightens everything up in the game and makes it super easy to see where you are, where your enemies are and where your teammates are. Now, my recommendation for this is choose really bright, bold colours. So I've used lime green for myself and for my team. I've used blue for my party, I've used red for my enemies, and I've used bright purple for any neutral positions. That means that when I'm pinging in game, instead of it coming up as white, which is very difficult to see, the ping's going to turn up as red, because I'm pinging for danger, showing enemy, which is linked to the red colour I've set up. So make sure that you change that setting and your pings will be so much more visible inside Warzone. Now that's today's graphic settings. Make sure you tune back in the next video where we're going to look through your controller settings to make sure you're getting more kills and you're even more accurate.